Are you feeling sharp? Are you feeling good? It's not hard. It's not hard to skydive, right? You don't have to be a brain surgeon to do this. But you need to be able to recognize things quickly, process them immediately, and make a decision and execute the procedures immediately. There can't be any delay. You need to be right on top of it. And a lot of times there's a lot to process. You don't want to be making decisions in free fall. You don't want to be making the decision, all right, my parachute's not working that well. All right, so should I try to get out of this? Should I try to work? Is this the kind of thing I think I could kick out of? Is this the kind of thing I should cut away from? You need to make those decisions before you ever get in the air, right? We don't have time to make the decision on the jump. We have time to execute the decision we've already made. And we've got some of the military guys in here too. The military units, when they're here training, they'll go through all their EPs and everything every morning. Go through them all, rehearse all these things. And these are generally some pretty bad dudes, okay? But I see a lot of the sport jumpers come out and have you reviewed your emergency procedures? Yeah. I go through them once every jump. And how many jumps do you have? 50. So you've practiced this 50 times then? Yep, 50 times. And you think that's going to be enough so that you know it well enough that you'll respond immediately and quickly and correctly in a high pressure, very time sensitive situation. You know, you should do 50 times every day, okay, to actually be ready to do this. So back to the top, starting with just, are you feeling healthy enough? We see people jumping sometimes, they're just not as sharp as they need to be. They may have had the late night, they may have, just traveled across the country or from overseas and gotten here and be thrown off. Make sure you're feeling where you're sharp enough, where you can process information, make decisions, execute them. You're feeling on top of your game. All right, this isn't a good sport, if you're feeling halfway. All right, and again, you can do it when nothing goes wrong, right? But the shit's gonna go wrong that day when you can't. All right, and I want you to get in the thinking of expecting everything that can go wrong to go wrong on every jump. Don't be, it always works. What could possibly go wrong? We're gonna list a long list of things right now of everything that can go wrong. And I want you to really be in the frame of mind where you're expecting it every time, okay? So for yourself, first and foremost, how are you feeling? Are you ready to jump? You feel sharp, you feel good, you feel ready to go. You should be, that little bit, scared, for lack of a better word. Not like scared when you were a student, but not like I'm sleeping through this and I'm not aware of what I'm doing either. All right, you need to be sharp, you need to be aware, you need to realize what you're doing here because it deserves our respect, right? Not even as much the fear, because the fear should be what makes you get prepared, is what makes you go through your emergency procedures to make you be aware of everything. But when you're exiting the airplane, be sharp, be ready to go. Second, are the weather conditions? Are the weather conditions good for you? Right? They have at certain conditions, we'll shut the drop zone down. All right, if the winds, and you guys have seen the winds out here, right? They're, the definition of light and variable. They're the definition of strong and variable. All right, they change a lot. Generally speaking, with the GSO out there, if the winds get above 22, like on a regular basis, we're just gonna shut it down. But prior to then, it may be gusting every now and then up that high, or the winds may be shifting back and forth a lot where we're not gonna shut the drop zone down right now, but you may wanna shut yourself down if you're not comfortable with the weather conditions as they are, with the clouds, with whatever it is. So make those decisions, just because we're still jumping. Remember when I was team training and we had a really, really experienced team and we would jump pretty much no matter what. Before I grew up and became smarter. So most of my life. But if the winds were 30 plus miles an hour, we'd still jump. But then people would see us jumping and think, oh, it must be okay. Must be okay then. It's like the average one of us has 15,000 jumps and 1,000 this year. It's okay maybe for us to be stupid if we want to, but it's not okay for you. So you need to be aware, make your own decisions in that regard. Your gear, right? Your gear. Know your gear. Be aware of your gear. Know it. I mean, obviously, no matter how good you are, if you got crap on your back, if you let your pilot chute get so worn out that now it's hardly inflating enough to give you a good deployment, you're way more likely to get a pilot chute in tow, right? If you're trying to do, if you're trying to learn to free fly, and you've got a rental rig from square one, well, it's probably not ideally set up for you to be on your head and doing stand-ups and with fast wind going by in every direction. So know your equipment. Your canopy sizes. People so often think, well, the right canopy for me is the smallest one I can possibly jump. I don't know how they came up with that, but it seems to be, well, I'm just going to keep downsizing until I get to them right on the edge. Make sure you have a canopy that is one that you can land anytime, anywhere, under any conditions, right? So out here, you might get set up to come into the wind, but it's downwind now, or it's crosswind. Don't have a parachute where it's a perfect parachute if I've got a 10-mile-an-hour headwind and the grass to myself. Then this is a perfect parachute for me. Right? Have the parachute that, all right, I had to get out of the airplane because we lost an engine and I'm over town in the middle of Paris and I need to put it in this person's backyard. All right? Have that parachute. Have the parachute you could be down at Oceanside with a much smaller landing area and people coming in, and you can use it there. Or if you go to Colorado and you're jumping at 5,000 feet, have a parachute you can land in all conditions. How many people here do a good gear check before every jump? Seriously?
I have someone else do my gear check.
Someone else do your gear check?
Well, in addition to myself.
In addition.
I always have someone check me.
And it's okay to have someone else check you also, but you should never, ever put a rig on if you haven't checked it right then, the moment before you put it on. And when we were, when I was jumping a bunch, we'd be doing back-to-back jumps, 4 or 5 in a row sometimes. And the riggers who were packing for us were guys, man, way better than me, packing for myself. And they really took good care of our gear. And we just get in the mode of running and going with it. And I realized, you know what? I haven't done a gear check since the first load today. I haven't done a gear check. And if there's something wrong, whose responsibility is that? Who am I going to blame this on if it's not there? It takes 30 seconds to do a really, really good gear check. You can check everything perfectly in 30 seconds. It is the definition of complacency if you don't check your own gear before you put it on. Just because you had someone else pack it for you, that doesn't mean it's ready to go. Look at it, go through everything, and get good at doing a gear check. Now I'm to the point I will never I'm not capable of putting it on, right? If I check my gear and I start to put it on and then I realize, we got an extra 10 minutes to wait, and I hang the gear back up, when I go back to get it, I'll check it again. Even though I just checked it 5 minutes ago. It doesn't go on my back unless I've checked it. Right then, the last thing that happens before I put it on my back is I check my gear. I don't care who packed it. I don't care when the last time I checked it was. It's 30 seconds to look at a life-saving device to make sure it's ready, so that when you use it correctly, it'll do what you need it to do. All right? Check it every time, and we'll go through later with the Loft guys about just exactly how to do it. It doesn't take long. And there's been times, too, that I ran down, I did the gear check, I threw it on my back, I walked away, and I realized I didn't look at anything. I mean, this is recently. Just realized, you know what? That wasn't a gear check. That was, yes, I got a rig. It has 6 rings, 3 on each side, some loops and shit going through here, and then there's some pins in there somewhere that looked like they were stuck, and just realized I didn't do it correctly and just stopped, took it off. I don't care what's happening. You have 30 seconds to do a good gear check before you go. Okay? And do the gear check as if we're testing you. Right? So if we were to go out right now, and we were going to get on a load, Sorry, it's not happening. And I said to you, I fucked with one of your rigs. Don't get on the airplane with it. Think about how you do the gear check then, right? Think about expecting something to be wrong. Don't do the gear check expecting it to be perfect. Check it out expecting something to be wrong, all right? Otherwise, the things get past it. Otherwise, you miss something, all right? Make sure you know when you're getting on the airplane what the correct distance is, the correct timing between groups, who's doing what. It's not always, and we will put the minimum up for what it is, but it depends on what's happening too. So if there's no winds at all, generally speaking, it's 8 seconds between groups, and that should give several groups enough distance between them. But if I'm a 4-way and I'm following out a 16-way, well, we only have 2 groups, and the 16-way is going to break off higher and track further. So I think I might take that 8 seconds and make it into 20, all right, to give the correct distance that we need. Depends on what's happening, who's on the load, how high people are pulling. Be aware of these things. So you know when you get on there how long you want to wait. Check your gear again before you get out. All right, we're tight in the airplane. There's plenty of times it happens that a pilot chute gets pulled out too far, that handles come out of the pockets. I've seen people walking on the airplanes, and a lot of us have. Chest straps undone, handles out of pockets, PUDs for their pilot chute, stuff so far up in the BOC that never get a hand on it. I haven't even looked at these things, or getting ready to get out where they haven't done this. Check your thing. The last thing I'll do, I don't care. When I was competing, and I'm at the world meeting, and we're trying to, man, it's all about the jump. It's all about the jump. It's all about the jump. Let me make sure my shit's together. Make sure everything's in the correct place. That's a little bit more important than whatever else is going on. But people don't. They don't check it. All right? So expect your gear when you do the gear check. It's as if someone messed with it. Expect handles to get pulled out and check it. I check stuff I just checked, just to get in the habit. This has to become how you do it. So you're not capable of putting a rig on your back without doing a full gear check. You're not capable of getting out of the airplane without the last thing you're doing, making sure your stuff is together there. It needs to be that much of a routine. When you are on your jump with whoever you're jumping with, and it's time for break off, so often I see people really focused on the jumps, and they're looking into the center, they're aware of everybody else that's there, focusing together, and then it's break-off time, and they all turn and dart away. And they go from aware of everything to track. And they're darting out there. A lot of times people are better trackers generally now because people spend more time doing that. But I've seen a four-way with 3 people kicking ass tracking right next to each other. All right? Just right next to they're killing it. I am getting some distance. They're right there next to you. All right? Because they're not aware of who is around them, of what's going on. When you go to break off first thing, look around, see where everybody is, make sure everyone's making the space that they need to. You don't know, there could be people low, could be people high. If it's a tracking jump that you did, they may already be separated, okay? But then if you're not aware of each other then, the separation you had may become less. You need to see where people are, be aware of them, and be tracking off to create more space, okay? But you have to be thinking about this as you go. Just that you're tracking, just that you're covering ground is not enough, right? If someone else is tracking right there with you. When it comes time to pull, has anybody here ever had a hard pull? Yeah? Did you get it out? Yeah? You got it out? How many times did you try?
On the second one, just rental gear from square one.
So,
Many years ago.
right, but you got it out on the second try?
Got angry at it.
All right, well, so pay attention here. So the second one, go ahead, just tell the story real quick.
Pilot chute, I had a passer, and the pilot chute was watered up basically into a softball, stuck in there, and it had fairly new elastic. It was I think it was a wing, I can't remember, but it was really tight, and yeah, in free fall, I went to pull it, and I had a pretty good upper body, especially back then, and didn't come out, and I thought, wow. And I just got mad, and I haven't pulled with a lot of force, but yeah, I got it out.
Okay. So just, and I don't mean to, you just raised your hand, so I'll pick on you. Because of Square One's gear and because of your packer,
No.
there.
If I didn't go to Packer, he had stuff in there, I would've looked on the bottom, it was a big ball.
Okay. And then though, you got it out the second time
Yeah.
because you got serious
Yeah.
on the second time. And this is the common story for people. I got it out on the second time, I got it on the third time. Well, what were you doing different then? I got serious on that time. Well, you're headed at the earth at 120 miles an hour and you're gonna be dead in approximately 17 seconds. Why don't you get serious the first time you go back to pull? So what I'm saying is if you were expecting to have that hard pull the first time, you'd have come back like you meant it then. And this is the classic story. I hear from people, they got low, I had a hard pull, but I got it out. And the same thing every time. I got mean. Yeah, well, get mean the first time. It's a life-saving maneuver to deploy your parachute. People come back, oh, I couldn't find it right away. Well, where was it? Oh, it was right where it was supposed to be. But they come back like they're scratching their ass or something. Instead of like, this is a life-saving maneuver, come back like you mean it and be good at deploying and expect it to be hard, right? If you expect it to be hard and you don't get it out, you weren't gonna try a third time, were you? Because you came back with, you were putting it all into the second time. And if it wasn't coming out that time, you were done.
Yeah.
Well, that should all happen, if that was the first time, it would have happened 500 feet higher, and there's 500 feet extra that you've got to live with. So when I'm saying expect things to go wrong, expect to have a hard pull. Come back like you already tried and this is the second try. Like you really mean it. Okay? So you're tracking away, you throw it out. One of the biggest things we find now is people having malfunctions and not responding quickly enough. All right, not responding quickly enough, not reacting, not cutting away. And very often it's, well, you know what, I think I can kick out of this. I think I can fix this. And they're delayed in that response. And it all starts with, well, they were surprised, right? They threw it out and they're expecting it to work. They expect it to work. So then when it doesn't work just right, they're, oh, shit, wait a minute. That's not how that usually goes. Well, how bad is it? Well, I think it's okay. It's not, is it $120 okay? Do I, is it, whatever reserve repacks are? I've had people say, I didn't want to, people said, I was thinking about how much it cost. I was like, you were? Really? What about the dirt? What about the dirt coming up? That actually occurs to you? But people, the reason they take too long to cut away is because, one, they're surprised. They're surprised. So as soon as you're surprised, it takes some time off of your reaction, no matter what it is. And secondary, they haven't made the choice enough. They haven't made the choice clearly enough for themselves as to what they're going to cut away from and what will be okay. What will be okay. They haven't made that decision. So then they're making this decision while they're headed at the ground at this high rate of speed, not realizing how fast they're coming down. And then when they decide to cut away, they're not that good at their emergency procedures. They're really not. And you guys need to ask yourself how good you are at this, because I've asked a lot of people, show me your emergency procedures. They said, okay, I got it. All right. Okay, hang on. All right, so I have a malfunction, so I'm gonna reach right. No, I'm sorry, look right, grab right, look left, grab left, peel. I was like, you just went in, man. That's not emergency procedures. You need to be good at your emergency procedures, right? You need to be really, really good at them, so that when you make the decision quickly enough, it's just look, reach, peel, pull, look, reach, peel, pull. I'm done. I think I'll get out a cigarette and enjoy my reserve ride. You're done. You're not taking the time to do this. And I can't tell you, if you read the fatality reports, how common it is that someone just, it's a basic malfunction, they just don't respond quickly enough. And more often, they get away with it and they survive, but they don't realize it's just out of luck. One of, you know, and one of the fatalities we had here is a really experienced jumper, very sharp, close friend, as pretty much everybody is, right, at the drop zone. 747 captain, right, someone who, current, active, sharp, who you know, you think this person's got it. Just had a slow malfunction, wasn't aware of how quickly they were losing altitude, cut away at 500 feet, didn't have an RSL, didn't have a skyhook. End of story. All right, a really good person who just didn't realize how unprepared and how complacent that they had been. So, when I throw out, I come back like I'm expecting it to be a hard pull. And I've really trained myself to do this. So it's not gonna take 2 tries. If I don't get it out the first time, it's not coming out because I'm putting 100% into it. And I'm expecting it to malfunction. I really am. I'm pleasantly surprised if it works. So I've got, if you knew you were gonna have a hard pull today, if you knew I was gonna mess with somebody's gear, how would you do your gear check then? Right? If you knew you were gonna have a hard pull, you'd come back like you meant it. If you knew you were gonna have a malfunction today, you'd be ready. How much would you review your emergency procedures? How much would you anticipate that? So when I come back thinking about the pull, I'm thinking I'm gonna have a malfunction first. So I'm pleasantly surprised and I'm ready. And I've decided that if I need to stop to think about whether it's okay or not, then it's not okay. Right? It's not okay then. If I have to think about that, I'm done. I'm cutting away. Now, if my parachute, and with the different experience, you might make this call at different places, right? I may look at something and I know I'm okay, where someone with 50 jumps may not be sure. Well, whatever your experience is, unless you're sure this is good, get rid of it. So if I have a parachute and it's open and it's flying fine, and I've got line twists, but I'm just underneath the canopy, just turning in place like this, and the parachute's not moving, and I'm watching it untwist, okay, I'm confident I'm gonna come out of that. If it's twisted this way, and my parachute's spinning that way, and it's twisting as fast as it's untwisting, I am done. I am done with that. I'm not gonna sit there, I'm not screwing with it for any time at all. All right, I've made the decision already. So then you don't have to have the time of making the decision. It's just, I expect it not to work, didn't work, and you're done. Okay? The last time I had a malfunction, I came down, they were like, man, what was wrong with it? I was like, I don't know. Well, what was it, a line over? Was it this? I was getting no love out of that parachute at all. It was out of here. I was done. I was done with it. And I was under my reserve, by 1,800 feet, whatever, plenty high. But it's all in those expectations, okay? Taking a step further. You're tracking off, you're breaking off, you're seeing who's around you, you throw out, canopy works. You're getting the brakes undone, right? You're making sure it's good. You look down to see where you are, bang, you're running into another canopy, okay? Just because you had separation. If you've got 200 yards from the next person over there, and their parachute turns towards yours, and yours turn towards theirs, how long do you think it's gonna take to run back into each other? Not much time at all. But if you're thinking, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm great, then you're not looking for that. You're not paying attention, all right? As soon as you know, first off, know who's close by. Know who's close by you, all right, when you're breaking off. So you know, all right, the closest person is to my left, right over here. Expect your parachute to turn right at that person, because that's what they do. Okay, your parachute doesn't go, oh look, there's a nice spot over here. I'm gonna go fly over there by myself. Your parachute finds the closest friend and wants to do crew. All right, that's what they do. And I can't tell you Mark Brown and I have been the base for hundreds of hundredways, and this is like every other jump when we're breaking away from each other. It's like, you want a top dock or bottom dock? You know, but we know where each other are, and there's been literally dozens of times that we avoided each other where we would have hit if we weren't expecting to be running right at each other, because it wasn't as much separation, you know, as we would like, but it was enough if you're aware, right? But if a person is hundreds of yards away and you're not aware, then, you know, a lot of canopy collisions you hear about, oh, they're 8 or 10 seconds after opening. 8 or 10 seconds? How could, you'd think it was right after opening, why you couldn't do anything about it. Nope, it was, well, you're looking up here, you're looking at the ground, suddenly someone comes out of nowhere. It's my other favorite thing. Came out of nowhere. It's like, where is that? Where is nowhere? The only place somebody can come out of nowhere on you at all is straight above you. If they're straight above you, which means they have to be spiraling down into you, right, to hit you then. Other than that, you should be able to see everybody and avoid them. So you're expecting a hard pull, you're expecting a malfunction. When your parachute works, you've already seen who is the closest person to you, and you're expecting your parachute to turn right at them. All right? So you're turning away from them, you're getting your own space, you keep flying into open space. All right? Then look down and see which way is the arrow going, which way is the wind going, where is a good place for me to land. All right? And the one thing we have that's really nice about Paris is if you are unconscious, it's about a 98% chance you're going to hit open dirt somewhere. All right, so all you can do is screw it up, okay? From there, it's one of the luxuries we have. Now, of course, if you try to put 40 people in the grass, it gets a little bit tighter than that, but we have the space to work with. So after you're open, your parachute's good, you've looked around, you've got open space, you're flying your parachute to where it's more open, then look down, see which way, where you're going to land, which way the wind's blowing, where is a good place for you to land. And a good place for you to land is where you can most smoothly fly a pattern doing the least amount of turns. All right? Spiraling down on top of where you just got open to land is not a good plan. All right? Where can I do the least turns and set up in a predictable pattern with everybody else? So you look down, you see which way the winds are going, you see where you're going to land. The first thing you do then is look back up for other people. Look back up for other canopies. Because whatever's a good place for you to land is probably a good place for half your friends to land too. All right? And then start to set up your pattern. So if that means the grass is a good place for you to land and you get open right on top of it, you've checked all this out, the next thing you want to do is fly upwind. Right? Fly upwind and away from the pattern, and then turn back onto downwind. So put yourself on the downwind while you're still plenty high, right? As opposed to just zigzagging down. That way it's very predictable and you're setting up on a downwind. And as many people as we can, to whatever degree they can, are setting up on that same downwind. Okay? Now, if we get open and we're far to the south, right, and the landing direction is to the north, well, you can be on final the whole time, right? And I know all of us have done this too, but it's still very predictable, right? What could be easier than just flying straight in on final the whole way through? Or if you get open and you're far out to the east, you could be on base, right, the whole time, because it makes for the fewest turns, which makes it the most predictable for you and everybody else who's in the pattern, all right? So fly to that open space, set yourself up in the pattern, and then realize the most common thing that happens is as you are in the pattern and as we get closer to the ground, we start to think more and more about our own landing, right? Our own landing, our own flare. Where am I going to set up on final? Okay? And as we do that, our focus and attention get more and more and more about us. And I've seen people both on final, running into each other. It's like, you guys, you had it all set up, you're on final. But they're just so focused on their own piece of it. And it's normal to do that. Be aware of that. So the closer you get to the ground, realize we're all converging. Whatever distance and time you had from other people is going to be less and less and less as we get more into the pattern. So you need to become more aware of everybody else before you get down there, rather than less aware, which is what classically happens. You need to have a parachute that doesn't require your full attention all the time, right? It can't be, I'm so on the edge with my parachute that I really got to think about what I'm doing and not thinking about everybody else. And one of my long list of really stupid things in skydiving is grab the wrong rig once. They all look the same, and it's the Packers' fault. And anyway, it was one of my teammates' rigs, grabbed the wrong rig, but it had some kind of 71 square foot parachute or something on it compared to the 120 that I had. And I threw out and it got open. I was like, good one, Dan, that was fucking brilliant. You know? And it's coming down. You know, it's coming down fast. And as it turned out, I was down first and had the entire grass to myself to use and used all of it. And while I'm calculating this out, I'm thinking this parachute's too small for me. I'm going to need to build up some speed. So I'm going to have to do, you know, somewhat of a lowish turn to get some extra speed up. And I brought it in and just surfed 200 yards of grass out the other side and got down. And my teammate was like, "Don't you love that canopy? Wasn't that awesome?" And I was like, you know what? It was really fun. I got to tell you, it was really fun. I just don't need to work that hard on every jump. I mean, we're doing 8-way here. I've got 8 of you guys. You know, it was great fun, but it required way too much of my attention. It was fine because I ended up pretty much by myself in the grass with good wind conditions. However, if I had had that canopy with a ton of other people and had to find my way into the pattern, I would have wanted to go find a spot where I couldn't hurt anybody else, you know, far, far away. So on your way in, as you're flying in, become more aware of everybody. And while you're on the downwind, while you're at the beginning of the downwind up high, see everybody who's in the pattern then. And already you should be deciding on where do I want to land? Where do I want to be on final? And so often I see people pull right in behind others and then have to take evasive action at 100 feet or 200 feet. And they are, well, man, I had no choice. The guy was right in front of me. I'm like, well, your choice was 1,000 feet earlier, right? When you look down here, you had a good opportunity then for a choice to not go here. There's too many people there. You know, you had the other side of the grass was great. Out of the grass was even better, but you put yourself right behind them where now you have to take this evasive action. These are the kind of things you have to process all the time and make good decisions on. All right? So you're expecting people to get tighter. You're expecting it to be too crowded. Don't be surprised by it after you turn on final. All right? These are all the things you have to stay a step ahead of all the time. All the time. After you land, did you guys see the video that was out last year? It was a safety thing, but somebody landed. It wasn't here, thank goodness. And they're sitting there, stowing their brakes, not paying any attention at all. And this person turns on final with the camera, and he's looking right at him. They're, of course, not looking at him. And just runs right into each other. Well, he ran right into the person that was on the ground not paying attention. And of course, the person on the ground said, "Man, the guy just ran right into me like that. I was just standing there." The guy flying in under canopy was like, "Man, the dumbass was sitting here stowing his brakes. How could that possibly happen? How could you run into someone? At least turn your camera off so I don't think you're staring at me. You know, but you're looking right at them. They're right there. And how could you be so stupid that there's 20 canopies in the sky and you're sitting there, you know, trying to stow your brakes over there?" As soon as you land, collapse your parachute, turn around. Every time. I do this if I'm on a solo. All right, if I'm by myself, there's no other parachutes in the air. But just like your gear check, you want to do these things, so I do them every jump no matter what. I do it. I wave off if I'm a solo. All right. No one. Who's going to be watching? Nobody. I don't pull without waving off. Okay. I don't put a rig on without doing a gear check, and I don't land without turning around to see who's coming in. You want to make it so it's habit. You don't want to have to think, well, on this jump, I need to do it this way. Do it every time, all the time. Land, turn around, collapse your parachute, see what's going on. Give them right of way, okay? You know, I see people, I tried to get off the grass really quick. Yeah, but you ran right in front of 5 people, you know, who were coming in. Little common sense goes into it. Look up, see who's coming, you know, whatever right of way means at that time, let them have it. They're there. All the way to getting back and crossing the runway, right? I mean, the one thing we have at Paris here is we land on the other side of the runway. Who here has walked across in front of an airplane and had the siren going? Yeah, there's a few more of you. It's easy. There's, you know, it could be a Cessna taking off, but it's just, I'm expecting it to all be clear. The plane I jumped out of already landed. What are the odds there's another airplane? About 80%, you know. So be expecting these things all the time. Each one of them all the way through. I can't tell you how many times we've been doing formation loads and somebody got on the wrong airplane. They got on the wrong plane and realized it, and the right airplane was in front of the plane they were on, and it's running. And they get out and run right by the propellers on the, you know, I can't even tell you the heart attack that starts to happen. But these are all the things that we are constantly doing. We constantly get away with them. Guys, I can guarantee you on breakoff you've had people closer than you've recognized. I can guarantee you under canopy you've had people fly by you may never have seen, but it could have just as easily been a collision. I guarantee you there's times that you have not been as high as you thought you were, or were surprised by being down lower, but your parachute worked. Okay, these things are happening all the time, and we've got to be a step ahead of them constantly, because there is nothing but the opportunity to get hurt, and we get so relaxed and so complacent. Have you guys ever had a non-jumper ask you, have you ever had a close call? You hear that word? Have you ever had a close call? They have these big look. You ever had a close call? It's like, well, and for us, I'm thinking, well, what do they call? What do they mean by that? Because we think in skydiving, unless something happened that was really bad, that just got by, then we don't think of it as a close call. But normal people would think that every skydive you make, right? If you're pulling about 3,000 feet, you are approximately 20 seconds from being dead. All right? You're about 15 seconds from it being too late to do anything about it. In the normal world, I think they would call that a close call. Okay? I think normal people would, that's what we do every jump. If it's a perfect jump, forget all the other opportunities there are for things to get by. Okay? This is the sport we do. And too often, people are just not as prepared. Do you know your emergency procedures as well as you need to? Have you made the decision already for what you're going to do when you look up? Are you aware of people as you're breaking off and seeing where they are? Are you aware of them under canopy? I guarantee you're not. I just do, because I'm not. All right, and I can point out some of the most experienced people here. Some guys even jump like green jumpsuits and shit. It was like the most current skydiver on the planet. Have we ever had any conversations about, you know, things like, this one time watching you with a spinning malfunction on a 200 way, like forever before cutting away, comes to mind. Right. This is Mark. No one's more current than Mark. All right. He jumps twice as much as I do if I'm lucky. All right. But you just get that little bit behind things. You know, fucking every so often I see Schrager just turn too low. Not that I want to pick on these guys or anything. And Grace runs over and says, "Go talk to Dave," right? And anytime it's happened, they both walk up like, because we know, okay? But this is how quickly it can get away from us. It's just that time we got away with it, okay? We don't all have the luxury of scaring ourselves, all right? I have a long list of dead friends who didn't make any more of a mistake than those two, or than I've made myself too many times. But that time, it was just the wrong altitude, the wrong time, the wrong weather, something else that happened, and it was done. All right, the same mistakes that we make, pretty much people make every jump, right? But if things don't work out as they're supposed to, that's how quickly it happens. This is not a safe sport. It's not. Nothing drives me more crazy than yeah, man, most dangerous part about being at the drop zone is the drive out here. It's like you live 2 miles over here. No, it's not. All right? Skydiving is a dangerous sport. Don't be fooled into thinking otherwise. It's a dangerous sport that we can do safely. All right? We can do it safely, and it's so awesome and so incredible and so much fun that it's worth taking that risk as long as we know what the risk is, as long as we know what it is. But it's not safe to do when we're doing it and we don't realize. We don't realize. Another time we were doing 100 way, we had the Brazilian record going on here. And one guy, pretty experienced guy, tracked off, and I'm watching from the ground. I'm watching, and this team tracks away. We have people track in teams on the really big ways. And the break off is good. I see that group track, they're good. I see the team break up, they're good. I see everybody pull, right? They all pull, and there's one guy still going. And I'm thinking, it's way too long. And finally he pulls. He must have been just too high for his AED to fire, because he was really, really low. And he got back in. I was like, "The hell was that?" He goes, "Yeah, I ended up low." I was like, "Yeah, no shit." He ended up low. That was like low enough you could read the signs on the freeway low. And he goes, "Yeah, well, man, my Audible didn't work." I was like, "Really? Are you kidding me? What about you broke off plenty high and everybody else pulled? What? Did that occur to you that maybe it was, and you had enough space? You had plenty of separation. You had plenty of time. You're laying all this on your Audible? Are you kidding me?" That he was. I bet you are too. More than you think. Okay? Another one, great, very experienced jumpers here. Very squared away guy. His initials are Dan Palash. I'm throwing you under the bus, man. Really current, great, very competent, super skydiver. Watched him get open at 300 feet. Right? What was that? I thought I had the rig with the RSL on it. So he cut away, and then, oh shit. And just that time that it takes put him down that low. But he lived. He's okay. It's not a problem. These are the kind of things, though, that we get away with. And because we get away with them, we feel it's even safer. I got away with it. The one time I learned not to hook too low was at a kind of just a fun demo into a friend's backyard for just a party. And it was really kind of small, and I was like, "Oh, how am I going to do this?" And I ended up hooking it, so I'm pretty much horizontal coming by the trees. And this is fortunately when we had bigger parachutes, and just stabbing it out completely and pulling my knees up to my chin and just kind of scraped my butt in the grass and came back up and stood it up. And everybody cheered like I meant to do that. and I was like, I'm not someone who I don't get up every day and pray, but I was like, thank you, God, for this, you know, because like that, I did everything I could to screw this up, but I got away with it. We don't all have that opportunity. There's a lot of people who do the same mistake, but they're not here. Okay? So more than anything, what I wanted to do this morning was make sure that you're approaching the sport with the correct respect that it deserves, realizing all of the details, all of the specific things that you need to be concerned about. It's not just if I have a malfunction, right? And there's more questions to ask. When we go through all the emergency procedures later, what parachute are you going to pull if you get out of the airplane at 1,500 feet? What about 2,000? When are you going to pull your reserve? When are you going to pull your main? You don't want to be deciding this stuff as the plane's going up in flames. All right, you need to go through all of these things. So please change your thinking on the sport. It's the coolest sport in the world. There is nothing more fun than this. There is nothing better than the family and the community that we have in skydivers. And there's nothing worse than losing one of them a day in the drop zone. And we need to take care of ourselves.